One day, many women wake up and realize something feels different, not in their relationship, not necessarily in their love, but inside themselves. The touch that once felt natural now feels distant. Intimacy starts feeling like pressure instead of connection. Small excuses begin to appear without even thinking about it. I'm tired. Maybe tomorrow. I just need to relax. At first, it seems temporary. Stress, hormones, a busy week. But then weeks turn into months and something deeper begins to happen. The emotional distance grows silently. Guilt starts creeping in. Confusion follows right behind it. Because the hardest part is this: most women still love their partner when this begins. That's what makes it so painful. You look at the person beside you and wonder why your body no longer responds the same way. You start questioning yourself in silence. Maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe I'm broken. Maybe this is just what happens after a certain age, but the truth is far more complex than most people realize. Female desire is deeply connected to emotional safety, mental overload, stress, hormones, self-image, and even the way a woman experiences herself internally. Desire is not a switch that simply turns off for no reason. The body is always responding to something. And most women spend years blaming themselves instead of understanding what their body has been trying to say all along. What makes this even more dangerous is that the loss of desire rarely happens overnight. It fades quietly, slowly, almost invisibly, until one day, intimacy starts feeling disconnected from emotion itself. And that's exactly why so many women feel alone in this experience. Nobody talks openly about it. Nobody explains it clearly. Most conversations reduce female desire to something superficial, when in reality it's deeply emotional, psychological, physical, and even spiritual in many ways. A woman disconnected from herself eventually begins disconnecting from intimacy too. Tonight, we're going to uncover the 3 hidden reasons why this happens to so many women, even inside loving relationships. And the second reason is the one most women never see coming. 1. The mental overload that quietly shuts desire down. Most women are not losing desire because they stopped loving their partner. They're losing desire because their mind never truly rests. A woman can spend the entire day carrying invisible emotional weight without anyone noticing, managing responsibilities, anticipating problems, thinking about the house, the bills, the children, work, deadlines, expectations, emotional tension, unfinished tasks, messages that still need replies, conversations replaying in her head, and the constant pressure to keep everything together. The body was never designed to feel desire while trapped in survival mode. That is the part many people fail to understand. Stress does not only affect mood. Chronic stress changes the entire chemistry of the body. Cortisol rises. The nervous system stays alert. The brain prioritizes protection instead of pleasure. Even when a woman wants to feel connected emotionally, her body may no longer respond naturally. And this creates one of the most painful emotional conflicts a woman can experience. Because she still cares. She still wants the relationship to work. But internally, she feels exhausted in ways she cannot fully explain. Many women start blaming themselves during this stage. They assume they've become cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. But often the truth is much deeper than that. The mind became overcrowded long before intimacy disappeared. A woman who constantly feels emotionally overloaded slowly loses access to softness, presence, and emotional openness. Her body stays tense. Her thoughts never slow down. Rest becomes guilt. Silence becomes rare. Even moments of intimacy start feeling like another responsibility instead of a safe emotional experience. And the terrifying part is that this process happens gradually. Most women do not notice the exact moment they stopped feeling connected to desire. They only notice the absence after it has already taken root emotionally. But mental overload alone is not the deepest reason women begin disconnecting from intimacy. Because sometimes the real damage starts much earlier, in a place most people never think to look. 2. Emotional disconnection begins long before physical distance. One of the biggest lies women are taught is that desire is purely physical. It is not. For many women, desire begins emotionally long before it becomes physical. A woman who feels emotionally safe, seen, valued, desired, appreciated, and connected will often experience intimacy very differently from a woman who feels invisible inside her own relationship. And this is where many relationships begin silently drifting apart. Not through screaming, not through betrayal, but through emotional absence. Conversations become mechanical. Affection becomes routine. Presence disappears while both people are still physically together. Life becomes focused on survival instead of connection. Responsibilities replace intimacy. Stress replaces softness. Two people start functioning like partners managing life instead of lovers emotionally experiencing each other. And little by little, something inside the woman starts shutting down emotionally. This is the part many women struggle to explain, because they still love their partner. They still care deeply, but they no longer feel emotionally reached. Sometimes, a woman stops feeling desired long before she stops being loved, and those two things are not the same. Love without emotional presence slowly creates loneliness inside the relationship itself. A woman can lie beside someone every night and still feel emotionally alone. That loneliness changes the body. It changes the nervous system. It changes emotional openness. The body begins associating intimacy with emotional emptiness instead of emotional connection. Touch no longer creates anticipation. It becomes neutral, sometimes even uncomfortable. Not because attraction completely disappeared, but because emotional connection stopped feeding desire naturally, and many women feel guilty for this. They think they are failing their relationship. But emotional intimacy is not a luxury for women. It is deeply connected to how many women experience desire itself. Feeling emotionally neglected, unseen, criticized, emotionally unsafe, or emotionally disconnected affects the body far more than most people realize. The dangerous part is that women often stay silent about it for years. They keep performing, keep smiling, keep trying, while internally feeling further and further away from themselves. And eventually, the body begins responding to that emotional distance. But emotional disconnection is still not the full picture, because sometimes, even women who feel emotionally connected begin noticing something frightening happening inside their own body, something they never expected. 3. Sometimes, the body stops responding before the mind understands why. This is the part that scares many women the most. Because sometimes, the problem is not love. It is not attraction. It is not even the relationship itself. Sometimes, a woman genuinely wants to feel desire again, but her body no longer responds the same way it once did. And that can feel terrifying. Many women describe it as feeling disconnected from themselves. They remember who they used to be. They remember feeling alive, sensitive, emotionally open, excited by touch, connected to intimacy naturally. Then slowly, something changes. The response weakens. The anticipation fades. The body feels numb in ways they struggle to explain out loud. And most women never realize how deeply the body is connected to hormones, circulation, stress chemistry, emotional exhaustion, sleep quality, aging, self-image, and nervous system regulation. The female body is extremely responsive to emotional and physical balance. When that balance is disrupted for long periods of time, the body adapts defensively. Blood flow can decrease. Sensitivity can weaken. Stress hormones remain elevated. Emotional fatigue builds quietly in the background. Over time, the body stops prioritizing pleasure entirely, and this creates another painful emotional cycle. Because the less responsive the body becomes, the more anxiety enters intimacy itself. A woman begins overthinking. Why am I not feeling anything? What happened to me? Will this ever come back? That pressure makes the nervous system even more tense, and tension is the enemy of desire. This is why so many women feel trapped inside silence and shame. Nobody teaches women how deeply emotional stress and physical response are connected. Nobody explains that the body can enter a protective state after years of exhaustion, anxiety, pressure, emotional disconnection, hormonal changes, or chronic stress. And the hardest part is that many women start believing this version of themselves is permanent. They think this is simply who they are now, but that is not always true. Sometimes the body is not broken at all. Sometimes the body has simply stopped receiving the support it desperately needed for years. And once women begin understanding that, something powerful starts happening. Hope returns. Because there are now natural ways many women are using to support circulation, sensitivity, hormonal balance, and emotional well-being without feeling ashamed or broken anymore. And one natural solution in particular has been getting attention for helping women reconnect with the physical response their bodies slowly lost over time. 4. Why more women are looking for natural support instead of blaming themselves for years. Many women suffered in silence because they thought they had only two options: ignore the problem or pretend it did not exist. That is why so many women kept carrying guilt privately, hoping the situation would somehow fix itself with time. But emotional exhaustion, hormonal imbalance, stress overload, and reduced physical response rarely disappear without support. In many cases, the body keeps adapting deeper into survival mode. And eventually, women reach a moment where they stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and start asking a far more important question: what does my body actually need? That shift changes everything, because healing often begins when guilt ends. Many women are now realizing that supporting the body naturally is not weakness. It is self-awareness. It is understanding that female desire is connected to emotional well-being, circulation, hormonal balance, nervous system regulation, confidence, and feeling emotionally alive again. And this is exactly why natural solutions designed specifically for women have become increasingly popular. Not because women are trying to become someone else, but because they want to reconnect with the version of themselves they thought they had lost. Women want to feel emotionally present again, physically responsive again, comfortable inside their own body again, desired again, alive again. That is what many women are truly searching for beneath the surface. And one of the natural products gaining attention lately is Vigorelle. What makes it different is that it was created specifically to support female sensitivity, blood flow, arousal response, and natural intimacy enhancement in a way that feels gentle instead of aggressive. Many women have become interested in it because it focuses on helping the body respond more naturally instead of forcing artificial stimulation. For women who spent years emotionally disconnected from their own body, that idea feels deeply relieving. Many women have been interested in Vigorelle because it was designed to support female sensitivity, circulation, natural arousal response, and intimacy wellness in a more gentle and natural way. And what makes it stand out is that it focuses on helping women reconnect with their body instead of masking the problem emotionally. If you want to learn more about Vigorelle and how it works, you can find more information in the description below this video. Because sometimes understanding what your body needs is the first step toward feeling like yourself again. Because this journey is not only about intimacy, it is about reconnection. Reconnection with confidence. Reconnection with femininity. Reconnection with emotional presence. And for many women, the first step was simply understanding they were never broken to begin with. 5. The real reason so many women stay silent about desire. One of the saddest parts of this experience is how invisible it is. A woman can be struggling deeply with emotional disconnection, lack of desire, physical numbness, exhaustion, and silent frustration while nobody around her notices anything at all. She still shows up, still takes care of everyone else, still smiles, still functions. But internally, she feels disconnected from a part of herself she no longer knows how to reach. And because society rarely talks honestly about female desire, many women grow up believing they're supposed to stay quiet about it. They learn to suppress discomfort, to minimize emotional needs, to tolerate disconnection, to pretend everything is fine even when something inside them feels distant and emotionally empty. That silence becomes dangerous, because silence creates shame, and shame isolates women from the very conversations that could help them heal. Many women are terrified of being judged. They fear being seen as cold, selfish, damaged, ungrateful, emotionally unavailable, or somehow failing as a partner. So instead of speaking openly, they carry the weight alone. But silence does not solve emotional disconnection. It deepens it. The truth is that female desire was never meant to exist separately from emotional well-being. A woman who constantly feels emotionally drained, mentally overloaded, physically exhausted, disconnected from herself, or ashamed of her own body, will eventually struggle to feel emotionally open to intimacy too. And yet, so many women continue blaming themselves for something their body has been trying to communicate all along. The body speaks quietly before it screams. It whispers through exhaustion, through numbness, through emotional distance, through avoidance, through the feeling that something inside no longer feels alive the way it once did. And sometimes, the bravest thing a woman can do is stop pretending she is fine and finally listen to what her body has been asking for beneath all the silence. Because the moment a woman stops treating herself like the problem, she finally creates space for healing to begin. And that changes far more than intimacy alone. 6. Desire often returns when a woman starts feeling safe inside herself again. Many women spend years trying to force themselves to feel desire again. They pressure themselves mentally. They overthink intimacy. They criticize their body. They compare themselves to who they used to be. But desire rarely grows in environments filled with pressure, shame, exhaustion, or emotional fear. Desire grows where safety exists. Not only physical safety, emotional safety, mental safety, internal safety. A woman who feels constantly overwhelmed, emotionally disconnected, anxious, criticized, invisible, or emotionally depleted cannot as solely relax into intimacy. Her nervous system stays guarded, her body stays alert. Even moments that should feel emotionally close begin carrying emotional tension underneath them. That is why so many women say things like, "I miss who I used to be," because deep down they are not only missing intimacy, they are missing themselves. The version of themselves that felt emotionally alive, soft, confident, present, connected to their femininity without constantly feeling mentally exhausted. And this is where true healing often begins. Not through guilt, not through forcing performance, but through understanding. Through slowing down long enough to recognize what the body has been carrying emotionally for years. Many women notice that once they begin supporting their emotional well-being, reducing chronic stress, reconnecting with their body, improving circulation, balancing rest, and allowing themselves to feel emotionally cared for again, something slowly changes internally. The numbness softens, the tension decreases, the body begins responding differently, not overnight, but gradually, naturally. And perhaps the most important realization is this: desire is not something women are supposed to perform. It is something the body experiences when it finally feels emotionally and physically supported again. That is why so many women today are becoming more intentional about supporting themselves instead of silently suffering. Some are prioritizing emotional healing. Others are improving sleep, stress regulation, hormone support, movement, nutrition, nervous system health, or natural intimacy support products designed specifically for women. Because women are beginning to understand something powerful. The body responds differently when it feels cared for instead of criticized. And sometimes, reclaiming desire starts with reclaiming compassion for yourself first. 7. Conclusion. The loss of desire is rarely as simple as people make it seem. For many women, it is not about love disappearing. It is not about failure. And it is not proof that something is permanently wrong with them. More often, it is the result of years of emotional overload, silent stress, physical exhaustion, nervous system tension, emotional disconnection, hormonal shifts, and slowly losing connection with themselves along the way. The body always responds to the environment it lives in. A woman carrying constant pressure, emotional fatigue, anxiety, loneliness, self-criticism, and silent overwhelm cannot assign access, softness, openness, and intimacy naturally. And when nobody explains this clearly, women begin blaming themselves for something their body has been trying to communicate all along. But understanding changes everything. Because once a woman realizes she is not broken, shame begins losing its power. And when shame disappears, healing finally has space to begin. That healing may look different for every woman. For some, it begins emotionally. For others, physically. Some women start prioritizing rest for the first time in years. Others focus on reconnecting emotionally inside their relationship. Some begin supporting their body naturally through circulation, sensitivity support, hormonal balance, stress reduction, or intimacy wellness products designed specifically for women. What matters is recognizing that female desire is deeply connected to emotional and physical well-being together. And no woman deserves to spend her life silently believing she is alone in this experience, because she is not. Millions of women have quietly gone through the exact same confusion, guilt, numbness, emotional distance, and fear. And many of them only began healing when they stopped fighting against themselves and started listening to what their body truly needed. Sometimes the body is not betraying you. Sometimes it is asking for care. And sometimes reconnecting with desire begins the moment a woman finally reconnects with herself again. If this video helped you understand something you have been feeling silently for a long time, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. There are many conversations most women never get to hear openly, and you deserve a space where these experiences can finally be understood without shame.